Today is Juneteenth, a day that marks a historic moment in American history that continues to be celebrated to this day.
That's right. To help us understand the meaning behind the national holiday is the Director of African and African American Studies at the University of Arkansas, Dr. Curry Banton. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, how are you?
Yes, we're doing well.
Yes.
Since I last saw you, I became the chair of history.
Yeah, okay, chair of
Yes.
history. Well,
Yes.
we want to make sure we get that right. So take us back to this historic moment. How did it get its start, Dr. Banton?
I think, if we go to how the holiday kind of originated,
Sure.
The reasons behind it, because of the disproportionate application of the Emancipation Proclamation, right? We know that Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation January 1863. It was not applied everywhere, right? Confederate states in rebellion. And those states, especially in the westernmost part of this country, enslaved African Americans would not be freed until General Granger rode into Galveston, Texas, which was one of the farthest westernmost states where slavery still was, and freed over 250,000 enslaved people. And so beginning in those early periods, African Americans would celebrate that, as a year of jubilee, as a year of freedom. And I think, as it has evolved, I think what that indicates to us is just that freedom is an ongoing struggle.
Sure,
Yes.
yes. Talk about that evolution a little bit, too, because the first, as you just said, the first celebrations would have just celebrated that moment, and specific to Galveston, is that right?
Yes.
And now it is a nationwide and a federal holiday as well. So how has it come to where we are now?
Yes, I think, different pockets, maybe not just Galveston, has celebrated Juneteenth as it spread, throughout African American communities over the years. But I think widespread interest, as we all know, I think emerged after George Floyd, when we saw just this rise in consciousness of people being interested to learn more about this country's history and about, this ideas of freedom that we very much pride ourselves on. And I think that just presented this kind of galvanizing moment where though it had been advocated for a long time, Miss Opal Lee is known as the mother of Juneteenth, had been advocating for that for a very long time, saying that the 4th of July, 1776 freed the land. But, if we look at all these various dates, Emancipation Proclamation, 1863 in January, Juneteenth in 1865, and then the 13th Amendment in December of 1865, we can see that, we're seeing all this, the vagaries of the emancipation process. So the land was freed and the people are freed. And so we are all now, with the holiday, just engaged in thinking about that process, about what this freedom means. And, it's June now, July 4th will be coming up, so we can think between this span of, of time, right, this process of freedom in the United States.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm curious, are there any kind of local ties to this holiday that we should know about?
Well, I think, as we all know, that there has been a Black community here, and that there are efforts by the Northwest Arkansas Black Heritage Association. There's a cleanup going on that we can participate in. People have been really just enjoying the new painting that we have.
The new mural.
The new mural that Joel Storr, the artist, has captured of Nelson Hackett.
Yeah.
And I must mention that the history department will be having a Nelson Hackett conference coming up in September.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are involved locally here in just this study, this enterprise of freedom, and making sure that, as Americans, we are kind of just aware of what has, transpired in our country.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and are there any stories that stick with you as we celebrate this holiday today?
In terms of local stories, none is more important than Nelson Hackett, right?
Sure,
Who we consider the most important person in this region or this area in the 19th century. As we all know, he ran all the way to Canada, was extradited back, and as scholars would tell you, right, it was the efforts of fugitive enslaved people that really put slavery, into question by their own actions of running away, seeking their own freedom, right? And the impact that had on events like the Civil War. So that local story is a treasure for us, not only at the university but in Northwest Arkansas, and we really value it.
Absolutely. Well, you're so full of knowledge. It's no doubt that you've now become the chair of history. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so very much.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us and reminding us of the history of this holiday that we celebrate today. Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you
Benton.
for having me.
Absolutely.